school or pastor or like Brother Wayne and Miss Janice, just live it all your life. You will never, 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 never know what that means. I grew up in this church as a child. I remember, walkathons, bike-a-thons, and Bible story drills. I know I pick on Tony a lot because we're the same age, but with these things, little kids, Bible story drills. Well, later in life, that helped me, And so I grew up in this church, and I was saved at the age of 10. Brother Milton Gann was here. And not long after that, I was saved in this church at the age of 10, baptized. And I remember going home, sitting on the couch. And I had never felt so clean in my life. I'm talking about just clean. I was afraid. I was a little kid. I was afraid to move. I took my business feeling up. I just felt clean. I'll never forget it. Little yellow dress I wore when I got baptized. There's a picture of it somewhere. And I grew up in this church, credit everything to this church and people that surrounded me here at that time. Well, not long after that, my parents divorced. And I moved to Sullivan. My mom had family up there. And again, I'm not knocking denominations. I'm talking about the dealings with the person I had. She was a different denomination. She said, well, I think you're saved because we believe you got to do this, that, and the other. You tell a little kid that. I might have had to be 11, 12 years old by then. That would shock you, Okay? And I remember one time being at their little vacation Bible school, and they were trying to separate us kids, I guess from knowledge or whatever. They're like, well, those of you that have been saved, you come sit down here. Well, I got up to go down there and I heard some of their Sunday school teachers or their church people talking, well, we don't believe they're saved, they're not old enough. And I'm still not going to tell the denomination, but anyway. So that rocked on, but I knew how clean I felt. I knew growing up in this church and what I'd seen. So I was in 7th grade, and I went to go home one day, and I didn't have a home to go home to. Again, I love my mom. My mom had ran off to Georgia with a man, so I had to go live with my aunt that day, just out of the blue. No home to go home to, go to her house. I ended up moving back to my dad's. By then, he'd married and had some kids, and I helped raise them kids. The world is real. Everything ain't perfect. But if there's ever an issue, work on it, fix it, forgive. But I don't care if you got an alcoholic son or whatever you got, work on it, fix it. Don't let it go on 50 years. I married young and dumb, just to get away from my family. And and had a marriage after that. It's hard to be whole when you're broken, My husband at the time, just to sum up some things, I had a flat tire one day, and I was going to work. And I come back in, and I said, you mind checking my tire? I think it's flat. He went out there and said, oh, it's okay. I'm not that dumb. I said, well, all I said was it looks flat to me. He's like, who are you to question me? Look at you. If you were a beauty queen or something I could understand, but who are you to question me? And just on and on and on. I remember somebody knocked my head off that verbal abuse. But at that time, I think I'd had enough, and I started getting a backbone. And y'all may not know this, unless y'all had security cameras years ago, but I come to this church, go up in the parking lot one day, there wasn't nobody here. And I walked around, I walked out back, sat on the sidewalk back there. And I said, God, I gotta know who I am. I gotta know who I am. I know it was real. You saved me when I was 10. You've been with me all my life, or I wouldn't be here today, the crap I've been through. So I started getting backbone. I moved out of that. It was just me and my kids for several years. And God blessed me. I got laid off from a job one time, went to get food stamps. They said, well, you made money this month, come back next month. How am I going to eat this month? So I started cleaning houses. That led to cleaning businesses, and making good money. I could work my schedule around my kids' school, just live by myself, a lot of time. And I lived in Pickens County. Well, somebody gave my name to this guy that had a hunt lodge on Phoenix. So I went there, and he was a hard businessman. I gave him my price. He didn't like it. I didn't like his either. So we met in the middle, and he agreed to let me ride the horses. He had a quail hunting lodge. I love horses. I've been riding them as a kid. That was before things got bad, So we negotiated our price, and I got to ride the horses. They were on a quail hunt one day, and I was riding along with them. And my horse rein broke. We got people shooting and all this stuff going on. I'm like, oh. And but his son come riding up on a horse to save me. And I'm like, oh, he looks good on a horse. But anyway, he did. He saved me that day on the horse. Sorry. But we started talking and kind of found out we were both broke. His first wife had died in a car wreck. And he told me, he said, I ain't gonna lie. He said, I picked up a whiskey bottle, stayed drunk a year. And of course, that led to getting mixed up with the wrong people, wrong crowd. He didn't have a good life. He had made some mistakes. He was getting over those, and I was people from my stuff, you know. But you put two broken people together. But we got married. We lived at that lodge. I fed 12 stall barn, all of them in the pasture. I fed horses every day, but I loved it, you know. And just rode them, and we had a good life. But one day he told me, see, I didn't know a lot of stuff. He said, Ronnie, my dad's got some bad business deals. We're not going to stay here no more. We got to looking. We moved into a small house in Macon. It would probably fit right up here. Don't lie. But I'm going to tell you what God done. We were there about 2 weeks. We got a phone call. A guy from Waynesboro, Mississippi had 2 cattle farms in Brooksville. And he had somebody on one. And he was looking for a husband and wife team to run the other one. So we went from a small house to a 4-bedroom, 3-bath, completely paid for farmhouse. You know, no bills, no nothing. Just go out there and work God's country. You know, we bush hog year round, run 2 tractors, check the cows, fix a lot of fences every day. Water troughs. I mean, I loved it. I loved the hard work. I still could do my janitorial stuff, you know, night and weekends for the farm. I had a good life. My husband got sick. He'd been sick for a while, couldn't ever get a proper diagnosis, and somebody finally ran CAT scan, said he had cancer all over his body. It started his whatever. Anyway, it was all over his body. He was facing a serious surgery March of 2015, and didn't know if he would live or not. We lived through that. You know, the doctor got in there, said it was all just infection. They took it out, and he was going to live. So that was a good summer. We worked the farm, hard work, but it was good, you know. And then November we went to visit his mom. We come back after Thanksgiving that year, and we got a call from the manager at the other farm. He said we'd had some cows stolen that weekend. The state ag investigators come. You never guess what they traced it back to. My husband's dad. My husband's dad was crooked horse trained. He said, I never dreamed my dad would do that to me. You know, I know he does it everywhere else. I never dreamed he'd do it to me. And he just went crazy. And remember, we had a blessed life. And God healed him. He showed that scar all summer. But instead of remembering all that and hanging on to God and the very, very good Christian men that God placed in our lives to work with, I'm talking about good Christian men, he couldn't handle it. He picked up a whiskey bottle. And I kept telling him, I said, Trey, I can't help it. Your dad did that. You know, we got a heavenly Father. We have a heavenly Father that loves us. Look how we're blessed. Look around. You got these good men to work with and work the farm. We're blessed. But his mind, he couldn't grasp it. He kept drinking and drinking and drinking. And one day, I didn't know who he was no more, but he got looking at somebody I didn't even know. Long story short, he ended up taking his life. He hung himself the day after Christmas of that year. And it was so hard for me to deal with. I didn't know what to do. The farm workers came to me, the older gentlemen. They're like, Ronnie, you know, as a man, I tell you, I understand how that probably got to him, his father doing that. You know, you did all you can do, just let it go. And the guy that owned the farm, he knew I knew how to do stuff. I've been doing it. He said, I'm going to send you some help over there. You can stay there, live there as long as you want to. You know, you prove yourself here, I'm going to send you some help. Just going to live there with all my memories, you know. And some days it would hit. I'll never forget, I was out checking the cows one day, and I was on the tractor. We carry guns, you know, coyotes, that kind of stuff. I was sitting at the cattle lane one day, just sitting on the tractor and had a gun in my hand. And I'm going to tell you, that's as close as I thought about, you know, maybe I just need to go to. Somebody said, no, go home. So I did. Well, a few months later, Mr. Bear shows up. Well, I didn't mean to call his name anyway. He shows up. Always somebody that was clean cut, shaven, looked very professional, looked erect, grew a beard, all kind of stuff. He'd already picked up the guy, but he called and asked where I was, and I told him. He said, well, stay right there to catch me, and we'll be there. He had made some bad business deals. He had lost the farm. So anyway, long story short, I started looking for a place to live. I found a house, small house on the side of Brooksville, rented from an older couple. They knew my story. My husband had just died. They took me and loved on me. I rented that small house for a year, until I was blessed to buy my house at Land O'Lakes. And the way I found it, somebody called me over there to clean it up. They were going to sell it, you know, and they gave a price. Of course, I didn't have that kind of money. And a few months later, they called. They dropped the price $20,000 from what they first told me. God worked out a miracle. I bought my house at Land O'Lakes. I started healing. It was beautiful there. It was just my little sanctuary. And healing takes time. And I was finally starting to heal. And then my son and I were grilling last June. And we'd come in eating. And I went in my bedroom for something. It was off the deck, and I smelled something burning around outside. And somehow something lit back up on the grill. I think it was already in the vinyl side. We headed up the house. We tried to put it out. Of course, I worked with the fire department. I knew that smell, the normal smell when I first smelled it. And it was already going up the vinyl side, and the wind off the lakes blew it straight up into the roof. It was in the attic, all across the attic, coming out the roof before the fire department ever got there. They did their best. So my house was gone. My son was with me. Of course, we went over and stayed at one of the cabins that night. And I got a little camper to go stay in on the land there while I rebuilt. And I said, well, the cost of houses nowadays, and my kids are grown and gone, I don't need all that. So I decided to sell my house, my land there, and I did. It sold the day I mentioned it. So, my stepdad had land at Steen, so I asked him could I put my camper there, put my house there. I had a mobile home factory built. So my son and I, my house burned in June. We lived out of a camper on my stepdad's land for several months until they got my house built and delivered. And there in Columbus. My son went to the Marines. He went to boot camp November 11th. And again, just starting to heal over my house burning, And I'm rocking along, doing good, making money. My son's gone, but eats too much groceries. So I'm able to save a little bit. And I didn't mean that bad. But and then March, COVID hit. When you clean churches and businesses, and they're the ones that shut down, that means you ain't making no money. Luckily, I just told somebody this morning, luckily I just paid my bills that month in March. I heard that I read somewhere they were needing help here at the courthouse, so I called the judge. I said, here y'all need some help. And she said, yeah. And she said, I'll be honest, it don't pay much, but it has good benefits. I said, I don't care, I'll take it. So I come over here to Vernon. God moved me through COVID. I know he did. Because I'd have been still over there. When I moved over here, worked at the courthouse, I see my dad a lot, but working closer, I got to see him more. I said, God, I just want to move home. Just want to move home. Tired of eating deer going down County Road 9. I just want to move home. Just want to move home. And take care of my dad, work here at the courthouse. I'm still driving to Columbus. Luckily, by the way, my businesses did reopen months later, and I'm cleaning those now too. Just want to go home. I looked for land, and couldn't find any, but I was blessed to finally find land. And I've heard say one time we live life going forward, but we understand it looking back, whatever that word is. I can look back now. When my husband died, I was blessed. When they told me that the farm was being sold, I was blessed. God helped me somewhere. I was blessed more to find this, and then even with the destruction of COVID, that got me here. I found some land. I was able to move my house. I just had moved over here. And you'll never know what it means to me to wake up a few minutes from this church and drive just a few minutes down this road I used to come as a kid and pull in this yard as a kid. And just a few minutes from my dad when he needs me, which is a lot. And I don't know if any of this made any sense, but you will never know if you were a teacher or anybody in this church that I grew up with and had for an example, you will never know what that meant to me. And like I said, I've been through a lot, but God has brought me through a lot. And sometimes the storms came to put me where I was supposed to be. And I didn't mean to take up so much time, and maybe some of that made sense. And thank y'all.